3 channels just posted videos this week claiming XRP could hit $10,000 per coin. The comment sections exploded. Half the community screamed impossible. The other half said not high enough. But here is what actually bothers me. Nobody showed the math. Not one of those channels walked through the actual calculations. They threw out a massive number and let the hype carry the video. That is not analysis. That is a lottery ticket with no odds printed on it. By the end of this video, I will walk you through 3 mathematical models using real numbers that either prove or destroy the case for $10,000 XRP. And model number 2 reveals something that genuinely stopped me in my tracks. Let me set the foundation so the numbers make sense. XRP is trading at approximately $1.35 today. Total supply is 100 billion tokens. Circulating supply sits at roughly 57 billion. That gives a current market cap of around $77 billion. Now here is where $10,000 per coin gets uncomfortable for most people. Multiply 10,000 by 100 billion tokens and you get $1 quadrillion. That is a 1 followed by 15 zeros. For perspective, the entire global stock market is worth about $109 trillion. All the bonds on Earth add another 130 trillion. Every dollar in every bank account worldwide totals roughly 104 trillion. A quadrillion-dollar market cap would exceed every financial asset on the planet combined. So is 10,000 impossible? Not if you understand one critical distinction that almost everyone gets wrong. And I need you to lock in here because it changes the entire equation. Price does not equal market cap. When the asset is a settlement layer, market cap assumes every token sits still at the current price. It was designed to move. A single XRP token settles a transaction in 3 to 4 seconds and is immediately available for the next one. This concept is called velocity, and velocity is the single most important variable in every model I am about to show you. Model number 1, the Swift settlement layer. Swift processes approximately $5 trillion in cross-border payments every single day across 11,000 banks in over 200 countries. That is $1.3 quadrillion per year. Ripple has been building the infrastructure for XRP to serve as the bridge asset in exactly this kind of settlement. This week, a video showing Swift connecting those 11,000 banks to XRP settlement rails hit 40,000 views in 48 hours. The market is paying close attention. Drop your XRP bag size in the comments right now. I want to see who is watching and what you are holding. If XRP captures just 1% of Swift daily volume, that is $50 billion flowing through XRP every day because each transaction settles in 4 seconds. A single token can cycle through roughly 20 transactions per day. You do not need 57 billion XRP sitting idle. You only need about 2.5 billion tokens actively working at any given moment to handle that volume. 50 billion divided by 2.5 billion equals $20 per token. At 10% capture of Swift volume, that price climbs to $200. At 50%, it reaches $1,000 per XRP. Significant numbers. Life-changing money, but still not 10,000. Here is what this means for you. If you are holding 1,000 XRP and the Swift model plays out at 10%, your $1,350 position becomes $200,000. That is a 148 times return. At 50% capture, that same 1,000 XRP, it's 1 million real money from a real mathematical framework. But 10,000 requires something much bigger than Swift alone. If this data surprised you, hit that like button right now because Model 2 is where the math takes a serious turn. Model number 2, the cumulative settlement stack. This is the model that stopped me. Most analysts look at each XRP use case in isolation. Swift in one box, tokenized assets in another, stablecoins in a third. But XRP does not serve one market at a time. It can serve all of them simultaneously on the same ledger. Let me show you what happens when you stack them together. Layer 1, Swift at 10% capture, 500 billion per day. Layer 2, tokenized real-world assets, Boston Consulting Group projects $16 trillion in tokenized assets by 2030 with 1% daily turnover that generates $160 billion in daily settlement. Layer 3, RLUSD stablecoin flows. RLUSD already has a $1.56 billion market cap and is the third largest US regulated stablecoin. Project forward to $20 billion in daily volume as adoption scales. Layer 4, central bank digital currency bridge flows currently being tested on XRP ledger technology by multiple nations. And this is not theoretical anymore. The New York Stock Exchange just announced a tokenized securities platform. Ripple closed a $1.25 billion acquisition of Hidden Road, a prime brokerage processing $3 trillion in annual volume. Franklin Templeton just updated their XRP position, and most holders completely missed it. The infrastructure is being built in front of our eyes. Stack all 4 layers, and the conservative combined daily settlement through XRP reaches $300 billion to $700 billion. Apply velocity at 20 cycles per token, and you need 15 to 35 billion active XRP at any moment. That implies a sustained price between $400 and $2,000 per coin. If you need an exchange to trade XRP with no KYC and a $30,000 sign-up bonus, link is in the description. That is WEEX. Here is what this means for you. 5,000 XRP at $1,000 per coin is $5 million. At 2,000 per coin, that is $10 million. We are now in generational wealth territory from a position most people can still build today at $1.35. But even the aggressive end of Model 2 tops out around 2,000, still not 10,000. So what is the missing piece? Model number 3, the supply shock multiplier. This is where the math gets extreme, and this is the variable almost every XRP price model ignores entirely. The supply is not fixed. It is actively shrinking. Ripple holds approximately 42 billion XRP in escrow, with 1 billion releasing per month and unused amounts returning to lockup. Now layer in institutional demand. 7 spot XRP ETFs already custody $1.4 billion in tokens. That XRP does not trade on exchanges. It sits in institutional vaults doing nothing. If Ripple secures the National Trust Bank Charter through the OCC, they will need billions in XRP as regulatory collateral. That is not speculation. That is how banking capital requirements work. If 20 major banks adopt XRP settlement and each locks up 500 million tokens for operational liquidity, 10 billion XRP disappears from free circulation overnight. Add ETF growth projections, add staking on the XRPL, add escrow lockup. The effective circulating supply could plausibly drop from 57 billion to 15 billion tokens or less. Subscribe and hit that bell, because these supply dynamics are going to matter more than any price prediction over the next 12 months. Now run the Model 2 numbers with this constrained supply. 700 billion in daily settlement demand, velocity at 20 cycles per token. You need 35 billion XRP active at any moment to meet that demand, but only 15 billion exist in free circulation. You have created a structural supply deficit. When institutional demand exceeds available supply, prices do not move linearly. They spike through auction dynamics where market makers and banks bid aggressively for a shrinking pool of tokens. This is the same mechanism that drove oil prices during supply shocks and gold prices during central bank buying sprees. Remember when I said Model 2 stopped me in my tracks? This is exactly why. When you realize the settlement stack is cumulative and the supply is contracting at the same time, the math stops looking impossible. It starts looking like an engineering problem with a very specific set of conditions that need to align. In a severe supply squeeze with 700 billion in daily demand, the implied equilibrium price ranges from $3,000 to $12,000 per token, depending on how aggressively supply contracts dot. Here is the honest conclusion. For $10,000 XRP to happen, 4 conditions must align simultaneously. First, XRP becomes the dominant global settlement bridge across multiple trillion-dollar markets. Second, effective circulating supply shrinks by 60 to 70% through institutional custody and regulatory reserves. Third, global tokenization reaches the projected $16 trillion milestone. Fourth, Ripple secures banking licenses and regulatory approvals that funnel trillions in regulated value through XRP rails. Each condition individually is plausible and already in motion today. All four together represents the single most bullish scenario for any digital asset ever created. The conservative model puts XRP between $100 and $500. The moderate model between $500 and $2,000. The extreme model with all four conditions met supports $3,000 to $10,000 per coin. Here is what this means for your specific position, and I want you to really hear this. If you hold 1,000 XRP at $1.35, even the conservative model at $200 turns your $1,350 position into $200,000. At 1,000, your bag is worth $1 million. At the extreme end of 10,000, that 1,000 XRP becomes $10 million. You do not need the extreme model to build serious wealth. You need any of these three models to play out at even moderate capture rates, and you are looking at life-changing money. Tell me in the comments which model you think is most realistic. Model 1, the Swift path. Model 2, the cumulative settlement stack. Or Model 3, the supply shock multiplier. Drop your number, and I will reveal which one I am personally betting on in a future video. If this video gave you real math instead of just a price target, share it with one XRP holder who needs to see the actual calculations. And watch this video next for a breakdown of what specific bag sizes are worth after Swift connects 11,000 banks. I will see you there.